welcoming you tonight. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jeanne and Gemert.
I'm Kristen Pingry, and Jeanne said I should introduce myself, and I feel like I've kind of know people here, and then I realized, well, maybe I don't really know you, and you may not really know me. I've been in the Sangha Leaders cohort. It ends in May, and I've been coming to IMCC off and on since, I think, 2005. Taking classes with teachers, past and present, and also, let's see, I guess my practice has been daily since about 2012. I've been going to retreats at Vipassana Society a couple times a year since then. So I guess I count these Sri Lankan monks there as my primary teachers. And been to Yogaville, retreated a couple of times. So I think in the beginning it was purely secular. I just wanted to learn how to meditate for stress relief, and then Buddhism became really compelling. I've taken the 8 lifetime precepts a couple of times. I try to adhere to the path as much as possible. And yeah, I think that's about it.
And you live near Stanton.
Yes, I live in the valley about 7 miles outside of Stanton.
Right, so it's a trek for people coming over the mountain, and I want to say how thrilled I am that we're doing this together. This is fun. It's fun to co-teach. And what we're going to talk about tonight is right or wise concentration. So it's one of the factors, as you know, on the Eightfold path. And we've all heard that concentration is a very important factor on the path, and that it's a game changer. It so improves meditation that you might have the question, what does that mean? And how do we get there? So I'll speak to how we get there first. So remember when you were a kid riding a bicycle, you decided to ride up a good-sized hill, not huge, but that took a different kind of effort. Not unpleasant, just different. You know, you had to stand up and kind of pull up on the handlebars, kind of lean forward so that you could get some pressure on the pedals, and that you might have to zigzag going up the hill if it was a little too steep, and you'd have to keep encouraging yourself. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm getting there. And then when you did crest the hill, it felt great. There was always some kind of unexpected pleasure. You'd feel a breeze on your face, or the sky would suddenly seem really big, or you'd see the horizon more clearly. But you didn't pause long there. You plunged down the hill as fast as you could, lifting your feet off the pedals so the pedals would turn by themselves. Sometimes you'd scream. You were always happy. So this is a bit what concentration is like. If you use a different kind of effort, it's not unpleasant, it's just different. A kind of staying power, like you're training a puppy and you're saying, stay, stay, stay. It's like that. Then you crest the hill into more flow and more ease and seeing more clearly. We humans like to concentrate on something outward, thank you very much. Talking to someone, reading, watching a movie. But in this case, we're turning our attention, really the most important skill we have. We're turning it inward. So taking the image of the bicycle wheel, it's like we're used to running around the rim with our friends and other people. But in this instance, we want to follow the spokes back down to the hub, back down to the center and to the center of ourselves, to find out what's going on internally. And as you extend the time that you can hang out there, that's concentration. So this is a skill that we can cultivate. Kristen and I have words to describe concentration, but we first wanted to give you an experience of it. And even if you get glimpses, that's helpful. So following some aspect of the breath is the classic way to do this, but we really can use any of the sense gates. The important thing to remember is to notice how you're feeling beforehand and how you're feeling after. So let's do a little check-in as to how you're doing right now. And just tune into that hub of yourself, maybe do a quick body scan. And then I'd like to invite you to lean as far to the left as is comfortable. Let your hand extend down if you have room, and then pause here. Noticing what you notice. You might notice that your neck is kind of crimped, that the blood may be rushing down to your downward hand, that you have to balance on your sits bones so you don't fall over. So we're paying attention to the micro movements. You might want to just move backward just a tiny bit and notice how things change. And then very, very slowly, start to move up to upright again. Letting yourself wiggle just ever so slightly to keep your attention. Noticing what muscles are moving in what moments. Noticing if you suddenly take a deeper breath. And then once you're upright, start to lean over to the right a bit. Very slowly, kind of like tiny ant steps. Noticing if anything lets go, if anything is more easeful, how it's different than the other side. Noticing if there are any deeper breaths, and then very slowly again, coming back to upright. Balancing your head so that you get the maximum flow up your spine. Noticing again how you feel. And then beginning differently, notice your inhale on the count of 4 and your exhale on the count of 4. And do this a few times. And then keep your inhale on the count of 4, but exhale to the count of 5. And then extend the exhale to the count of 6. Keeping the inhale to the count of 4. And notice how you're feeling.
And the rest of the meditation will be about 20 minutes long. And what we want to do is find an area just below the nostrils, right on the upper lip if we can. And we're going to do counts of 10. So that's inhale, exhale is 1. And you want to breathe naturally. Inhale, exhale 2. And have that count be at the very, very end of that whole exhale. And you'll inhale and exhale 3. So on until 10. Like that. And when you get to 10, you'll go backwards. Not thinking so much about warmth or feelings of the rib cage or the belly expanding, but as much as possible, that sensation right below the nostrils, sort of off the body. Inhale, exhale. And at the end of that long exhale, that's where your number is. And that's where you're going to rest your attention, is that place right below the nostrils. Try not to follow sounds and background noises. Just rest. And your mindfulness will tell you if you're getting lost in thought. Just gently return to the breath. There's no violence about it. Finding your inhale and your exhale. Retrieving your number at the end of that long exhale. Breathe in, breathe out, count. Breathe in and breathe out, and then count. So on up until 10. And then back from 10 to 1. There's about 10 more minutes. Remember to relax your hands, ease in restful way. If there's any tension in your jaw or your brow, let that go. Just awareness of the whole entire breath. Inhale, exhale. Don't control or manipulate the breath. Just count your number at the end of that exhale, at the very end, and then start over. by the poet Wu Men. 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. Okay, as we know, wise concentration is one of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. And wise concentration can be thought of as being supported by the additional 7 other factors. For instance, without wise view, can we expect to have wise concentration? Without wise or right speech, can we expect to have wise concentration in the stillness and the equanimity that we want to have during our meditation and also during our life and our social interactions? If there's no wise intention, can there be wise concentration? And if there's no right action, no wise concentration, no right living or how we go about our livelihood, can we achieve wise concentration during our meditation? And last, if there's no right effort, can we have wise concentration? We can think of it as if we behave unskillfully in one area of our life by lying or cheating, it might make it difficult for us to achieve the stillness that we want during our meditation. And our practice of mindfulness operates in tandem with concentration. For instance, mindfulness will let us know if we're following a thought stream or going into a trance during our meditation. And we've heard it described that when the mind is agitated or defiled, which is kind of an archaic sounding word, but I think we get the idea. But a mind that's purified and concentrated leads to samadhi, or the collection of energies in the mind that we want to achieve when we meditate. We can think of samadhi as the energy of the mind is collected, sowing the seeds for insight. Or Vipassana, which translated means seeing things as they are. So we want to use our meditation time wisely and not waste time on the cushion. And certainly in the calm abiding of a concentrated mind, it's there that we might have a glimpse of impermanence by seeing the arising and the cessation of mind states. And our concentration acts like a gatekeeper, for instance, ill will, and even really mild ill will or feelings of anger or agitation. Our concentration helps us understand and know that that's present. And that's really the most important thing, is the understanding of who we are and what we're doing. And certainly concentration when we meditate can lead to pleasant, easeful, relaxed states, and we can rest there. But also in our day-to-day life is where we can really use our skills at concentrating. And Jeanne's analogy of riding the bike up the hill is there's a little bit of effort and work involved in our meditation practice by developing concentration. But the point is that in our lives, for instance, if we're in traffic or someone is saying something that sort of triggers us, hopefully our mindfulness will inform us that we may be getting ready to say something unwise or do something unwise. And finally, some concentration just helps assist us in some equanimity in our lives if we're practicing it on the cushion. The hope is that we can go about our day-to-day living with the steadiness and the peace and ease that we've experienced when we meditate. So the point is, the Vipassana, as seeing things as they are, is, I think it's more of a personal experience, that seeing things as they are, and our concentration practice is so individual and so nuanced that it's sort of hard to, we can talk about the benefits of it, but it's really, the Buddha said, come and see for yourself. And that's really, or, not take the word of a wise man in robes who said it, because I certainly did when I first started meditating. We do have to come investigate. We have our own personal brand of suffering, for instance. Our mind has to look at our mind and see who we are, and that can be discovered with our concentration practice, with our mindfulness. And we don't want to leave out the metta, the kindness and the friendliness that we develop towards ourselves and others, and that brightening of the mind also really assists us in our meditation practice, in our ability to stay focused on our point of attention, whatever it is. Would you like to?
So I've talked before about a large study done internationally by cell phone that called participants at random moments, asking them what they were doing in that moment and whether they were happy in that moment or not. The result is that people were happier when they were concentrating on what they were doing, not when their minds were discursive. So two main modes of the brain are concentrated and discursive. And as you know, the brain is wired with networks of billions of neural pathways and concentration and combinations. The pathways that fire together wire together. We brush our teeth before we go to sleep because we've done it so often we don't have to think about it. We say it's hardwired. When we concentrate, we use a certain pattern, a certain network. One bit connects to another bit, connects to another bit. It's a pattern. And the more we use certain patterns, the stronger they get. In our default pattern, we digress and daydream. And we need to use both patterns. So it's like we shift from one pattern to another, just in an instant. And it's important to learn to control them so that we can effectively use them. And it really takes all our life to learn that. It just keeps getting more subtle. For example, if you're in a meeting and you're paying attention, but your stomach starts to rumble, you realize you're hungry. And then you think, oh, did I bring lunch? Where is it? What is it? Is it in that refrige or the other refrige? Is it going to be enough? What time is it? When do I get to eat lunch? And then suddenly, okay, so you're concentrated on your tuna fish sandwich and how good it's going to taste. And then suddenly the person speaking in the meeting mentions your name. And so you shift back with your attention in the meeting. And so we want, this happens all the time, and we want a mind that's flexible, wieldy, and prone to imperturbability. When we get concentrated inwardly, even a bit, that concentration leads to more concentration. That's why at the beginning, Kristen and I started with some ways to jumpstart your concentration. And you want to try to keep extending this skill. The meditation teacher, Shinzen Young, said that learning to meditate was about as hard as learning to play golf. And why in the world, he'd say, would anybody want to learn to play golf when they could meditate? And to keep in mind that with this concentration, there's a payoff. No matter what size hill we've chosen, there's a nourishing breeze at the crest. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the jhanas. They're a series of 8 altered states of consciousness brought about by concentration, each yielding a deeper state of consciousness than the previous one. The goal is not to hang out in these altered states, nice as they are, but to direct this increased attention toward insight. In the Tibetan tradition, the bodhisattva of wisdom is Manjushri. He's often depicted with a sword in his right hand, which he uses to cut the bonds of ignorance. Jhana practice is said to sharpen the sword, but you have to use it to gain insight. So you have to apply it. The Buddha mentioned the jhanas often throughout the Pali Canon in connection with concentration. In my experience, I describe them as a remarkable progression of piano chords, or jumping a horse over hurdles of various heights. You know, when you dive off the diving board, you've got to know the length of the board and measure out your steps, however long the board is. So you go, say it's a fairly short board, you go 1, 2, 3, double bounce, and then dive off. Or measured out longer if it's a longer board. If you're jumping a horse, you've got to know where the horse's hooves are. And you've got to measure it out for the horse. You've got to direct the horse so that the horse is in the right place when you go over the jump. That this is not too different than what's required to get your bicycle up the hill or to get yourself into concentration. It takes intention, effort, mindfulness, concentration, kindness to yourself, happiness, especially kindness when it doesn't work, when you have to redo it, energy, calm, and equanimity. So you need to balance these 7 factors and more. So let me talk about main kinds of jhanas. There's jhana light, which is taught by Lee Brasington and Mary Aubrey, among others, or the intense version, which is taught by the Burmese master Pow Ak. Here's a book. If you're interested in learning more about the jhanas, this is by Lee Brasington, and it's called Right Concentration, a practical guide to the jhanas. And you can get a certain amount from the book, but if you're really interested, I'd advise you to do a retreat with him or with Mary Aubrey. They're very good. He often teaches at Southern Dharma. You can look him up online. And his teacher was Ayakema, and she was a totally remarkable woman who taught herself the jhanas by picking out the phrases in the Pali Canon that referred to them. So she's worth looking up to. So now we have a question. Since Kristen and I have discussed the benefits of deepening our meditation practice by concentrating, let's figure out why we resist. Why we resist concentrating. So think about this a moment. Some things that I came up with for my resistance were that when I went on my first retreat, I was terrified that there were going to be monsters under the cushion. And as soon as I settled down and made myself vulnerable, they were going to emerge and kill me. Nothing small, nothing small, of course. Another resistance is that I hate feeling vulnerable. I like feeling distracted. It makes me feel like I'm in charge. I hate having to work hard. I work hard enough. I never want to ride my bicycle up a hill. I like riding on the flat ground, like at the beach. Do you have any favorite resistances?
Not enough time, basically, because it 45 minutes to an hour, just getting concentrated sometimes. And like you said, what's going to happen while I'm concentrating? But it's like, you got to feel it to heal it. It's what I've found out.
Oh no, I think that one thing Kristen really, that you really embodied was that there's a lot of nourishment, in concentration.
Yeah, and that's the kind of personal experience that I'm talking about, and the effort. But it's an extremely healing, nourishing experience, but it's totally your personal experience. And as you all were talking, there's some sutta that I remembered, and I emailed Jeanne about it, and the Buddha said to the monks, know when your mind is concentrated, or it's not concentrated. And I asked Jeanne, well, what does it mean? And it's really, don't cling either way to what's happening while you're meditating. You're either concentrated or not, just know it. And I don't know what comes after that, but understanding is really key. This is a phrase I found in the Patyana Sutta. It's a paragraph I translated from the Pali. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. so too may all beings live. From this highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from suffering and attain perfect peace.
Thank you very much for being here, either in person or on Zoom.